All right, here we are in another Stormgate cast, and this is going to be a cast starring my good buddy Dutchy in the Blue Celestial. Well, he didn't tell me this was a Celestial game, so here he is. He plays all three factions. His main faction is Infernal. His second is Vanguard for sure, and Celestial he plays on occasion. But he was in a Celestial mood recently, and his opponent here is going to be Corsair in the red Vanguard. So we got another Celestial versus Vanguard here. And yeah, so like I said, Dutchy likes to play all of the different matchups. I guess I should mention he's on his other alt here, the Architect. And he likes to play all the factions, I should say, not just all the matchups. I guess when you play all the factions, you play all the matchups. That doesn't mean you necessarily like to play all the matchups. I think some of the matchups are a little bit detestable. You know, I only play Infernal, and I think Infernal matchups are all kind of awesome. But yeah, he likes to play all the factions, but the Celestial faction he just doesn't play it as much. And I think he was trying to learn things like the timing of the Celestial economy and stuff so he can better understand his Celestial opponents. And what can I say but what terrible timing for learning the Celestial economy better than just a few weeks before they completely changed the Celestial economy. So I guess that's what's up. But he's opened here with, it looks like a fairly standard 3 array, but going for, oh yes, I remember why. This is the Ruination, creeping trick here. Is that even in range? I don't know. I don't know if that's in range. Maybe it doesn't have to be in range. You know, maybe I'm just a little behind the meta here. Because I think you can use a Morph Core. Although, does he have a Morph Core? So he is going 3 array here. So what is this going to be? Like Mass Argent or something? What's Raffle up to? Raffle's on 1 Rax. He hasn't even expanded. He's got, and by Raffle I mean Corsair. Sorry, I've cast 3 Raffle games in a row. This is Corsair. Corsair has gone Lancer opening, which is not a bad opening for creeping. Certainly, I think this is more standard versus a Infernal opponent. Versus Celestial, you sometimes see a fast mech bay and into Hedgehog production. And oh, the poor scout gets taken out, and this base, the Sovereign's Watch got triggered, but then it also aggroes the Shadow Massives, which was kind of the goal. And the Shadow Massives are going to be taken out. Help from a few Argents. And what are the Lancers doing? They're on the map. They're looking for trouble. They're going to take the Vision Camp down here? Okay. This is curious. And it is Argent so far. And I, you know, remind you again, Dutchy's not necessarily a Celestial player, so he's kind of making this up more as he goes. He says he doesn't have builds, so I think he probably knows that, you know, this is a kind of meta build going into Argent, so that's probably why he tried that. And I don't know how many games he had played on Celestial here by the time he got to this game in his current stint of Celestial games. He's obviously played a lot of Celestial before this, so he's got a working understanding of how the faction plays. We now have a Biokinetics lab going down, and we also see that the second base is also already finished here. And what's this? A mech bay, a second mech bay. Alright, so we will see here. So he's added a Guardian Nexus, and it looks like we've got the photocapacitor upgrade, so it's going to be sticking on Argent Tech here. And we've added Hedgehogs now. These poor babies need to sit in the healing rays of a healing camp, and sadly, there are no longer any healing caps on this map, which is pretty bad for Infernal in particular, but that's pretty bad for everyone. It means healing's a little harder. Definitely means prioritizing getting out a med tech here might be valuable. And so, interesting choice to creep the sort of top and bottom vision camps for Corsair. Wonder if that's sort of his style on this map. Oh, and here we go. Argents on top of Hedgehogs. That's a lot of Argents. They had a lot of energy at first, but now they're going to be powered down. And the Lancers, of course, with their splash can do a little bit extra damage there, punching through those tightly packed Argents. And now here they are, soaking up underneath that Arc Station, getting some of those healing kisses. And actually a few of them need them, and that didn't quite. And here they are on top of some more Hedgehogs, and some nice focus fire there, although leaving one Hedgehog very low. Cabal's being added. I like this, so it's not just going to be pure Argent. Now the Cabal's coming out. Are they on their autocast with their no, they got Gravity Flux and Debilitate going on. Some nice Gravity Fluxes to raise the Hedgehogs. And, oh, one Cabal going down. Hard to kind of see underneath the Purify there, but yeah, we see the Purify going down to add energy to all these units. The Cabal's, of course, also benefiting from it. And look, they're just going to go soak it up. Let's go sit in that Purify. Beautiful. Hedgehogs, Vulcan. We now have, ooh, the boys are being pulled. Oh no, they're not being pulled. They're expanding. I got ahead of myself. I mean, that would have been kind of a pretty timid all-in. One Vulcan and two Hedgies. But they're just going to grab a third base here. And here we have Dutchy coming to take the speed camp. That's a little bit letting Corsair know that this force is on the map and could be a threat here. And what's Corsair doing? Moving into a little bit more defensive position. Trying to be in a position where he can defend his third as well. Here we are, the meeting of the armies. It does look like Dutchy has a little bit more here, both just by glancing, but also looking at the supply as well. Purify going down. Maybe a little premature. They retreat from it, but some nice gravity fluxes to lift up the Vulcans. And then focus fire the Vulcans while they're gravity flux. That's kind of nice as well. Sort of two different strategies you can do there. Do you focus the gravity flux ones, or do you just fight the ones that can still hit back? But this army got cleaned up, and unfortunately this is looking like it might be the end here. As Dutchy pushes up, and yeah, we're going to get a well played from Corsair. Alright, welcome back, and we're going to be in another game between these two, and this time it's going to be Dutchy in the blue Infernal, so he's no longer on his Celestial Kick this game. But he will be playing against Corsair again, and Corsair will remain as a red Vanguard here. I believe that is because that is his main. So this will be our second match, and it'll be played out on Aladred, and look at this already. What a mean puppy. Biting ankles and chasing that old lady all the way back into her house. Very grumpy. Someone needs to call that puppy home. Maybe feed it some cabbage so it's not so angry. And look at it, it runs right in, right back up to bite her ankles some more. Although she is standing on the shroud, meaning she is regenerating her shroud skin, and so she's a little bit more safe. She did take some actual damage there. She's at 145. And until a healing camp is captured, that is permanent damage. And that's one reason why the puppy dogs like to do that. I see some blue going on down here. What is this? Proxy Vaults. Proxy Vaults, okay. So, Dutchy is doing something a little cheesy, a little bit of fromage today. I think that's an interesting choice of location. It's unlikely to be scouted out by a scout running by, which is probably going to cut corners and go like this. But that scout, she's trying to get on top of the Hexen again. Poor Hexen's just trying to get out and check her mail. And every time she does, the neighbor's dog comes and bites her. Stay off my lawn. Don't let your dog poop on my lawn. Something like that. The Lancers out. Are they already creeping? No, they're not creeping yet, but they are headed over to the Human camp to get their creep on. And with a couple Lancers, remember the Lancers can hit in that line attack. They used to be able to hit 4, but they changed that. They thought that was just a little bit too much. They can still hit 3, and that means with 2 Lancers kind of crisscrossing like that, you can kind of clean these out pretty well. So that's kind of a standard creeping play these days. But what are these brutes doing? They've popped out of their vaults. That's what they're like. That's what we were here for. Let's go find the base. There is no base, actually. There's just 2 brutes. Just 2 brutes having a good time. And wow, yeah, I don't know if the scout wants to go one-on-one with a brute. I'm not even sure if a lancer wants to go one-on-one with a brute. 4 lancers versus 2 brutes. Oh, those brutes killed one of the lancers pretty quick. Now remember, brutes did get a buff in the most recent patch, not tomorrow's patch, of course. And that meant they are a little bit more deadly against the lancers. I think that was part of the point. This brute's running away. Oh no. Was that a scout that got taken out up there? I think it might have been. Oh, they're trying to try and take out the poor Hexen. She does finally get taken out. So a nice little skirmish there. We have, oh, a mag pops out of one of these forward vaults. This is an interesting strategy. Kind of like it. It's like a mag rush. This is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. The mag popped out. And because it's a proxy mag, it's like already here. This could be a dangerous push, actually. We have these Lancers going for the Shadow Massives. And all that's going to mean is they're going to... Oh, don't stand in the AoE! Oh, no. And he didn't even capture this camp earlier. This is bad news because that means they're all going to be low health and there's a mag here. The mag is basically anti-Lancer. That's sort of the point here. He gets the bonus damage versus the Lancer, but then the trample means he's doing all this splash damage. Look at those overcharged bobs, just how invincible they are. They're getting full-on trampled by a mag and they're just like, we're fine. We're fine. Although they're now weak and they get chewed up by some cleaver attacks from these brutes. And boom! Bye-bye, baby. There's another mag out here. Like I said, this is kind of looking dangerous for Corsair. Oh, poor Corsair finally being like, I need this healing camp. Needed it earlier. This base is unfortunately going down. I really like the new graphics that make it all burnt and when it's going down like that. I hope tomorrow we get a couple new graphics changes as well. Black cannon. Uh-oh. These bobs are not going to like the mags. Oh, the mag chases them away. And yeah, that black cannon goes down. And where did those lancers go? There. Yeah, this is unfortunately, this base is just too big. That, or this map I should say, is just too big that trying to run and get that counter damage. Oh look, there's a Shroud Stone, and there's 2 Shroud Stones, and there's Fell Hogs. Yeah, these Lancers are not going to get damaged done, and now they have to run all the way back to try and get a defense. Look at that, we do have a flat cannon in the back there, but the sentry post is going to go down. Overcharged bobs again, fairly invincible. Oh, I say the sentry post is going to go down, but I don't know if they can out DPS it. Certainly not if it's just one mag. And yeah, unfortunately that's just good SimCity there. The mags are like, fine, we're gonna go. We're leaving. This isn't fun anymore. We're gonna go get our friends and come back later. And our Lancers came back to heal up a bit. I think these mags kind of want to go steal that health camp so they can heal up. Yeah, we got 1 cabbage. Cabbages just don't do quite as much for a mag as they do for a scout. That's just because, of course, mags have a lot more HP. But you kind of want those mags back up to full. And here we go. Fiend's taking that so that the mags will at least have the passive regen, which will be good. And if they could soak up there for a few minutes, they could be up to full. Standing on top of an FD would be great, too, to get some of that crowd skin back. So I do think this proxy vault strategy so far has worked for Dutchy. He does have the supply lead. He did destroy that command post. and did not take any damage from the Lancer push, other than possibly you could call it some sort of indirect damage because he had to build static defenses. But one of those was manifest, I think. Maybe both of them were. And of course you need farms, so the farms were already well placed. We do see here Twilight Spires going down. Are those, yeah, those are the first ones there. So that the proxy wasn't really an all-in, I guess, but it was delaying the base behind it. And these Lancers are, this is sort of a curious case of they're creeping the opposite sides of the map. So the Lancers are creeping Dutchy's side, and Dutchy's out here creeping on Corsair's side. Now, Dutchy's retaking the health camp, and I think this was the right move here. Get this health regen on those mags, like I said. We see him standing on the effigy, so they're all regenning the white health as well. Pop another one. Oh, okay, well. If you pop another one, of course, it's permanent, so sticks around longer. But what are these Exos heading out? And oh, wait a second. A couple Weavers pop out and kill those Lancers. I don't know if I've ever heard that specific attack noise by itself before. Kind of a weird noise. Slow moving Weavers. These proxied units march all their way back home. They've never even visited this side of the map before. They were born on the other side of the map. And are they going to come? It looks like maybe we're just going to take some camps before we are aggressive again. Like, this base is, you know, this flat cannon was somewhat well protected, but yeah, what kind of forces do we have here for Corsair? Not a lot. I think the army from Dutchy could definitely do some damage, although these Hornets are going to be a pain in the butt. Oh, here we go. Gaunts. Gaunts are going to help out. Because everything else here is just a melee attack unit that can't hit the air. I feel like what might really help here are some Hellborn. Maybe we'll see a couple pop out here. Although Hornets moving in, there's already a Shroud Zone here. But the Hornets can still harass this base. There we go, another Shroud Zone. So the Hornets head home. I think they're on return to hangar, yeah. And third base for Dutchy at the double Luminite. And we do, there we go, our Twilight Spires look like they're just popping online. And are we going to see our Spriggy tick go down? We don't see it yet. But there is, maybe it's because Dutchy is moving a little bit forward here. Okay, the Hornets finally find the proxy vaults. And the Gaunts here, I think the Gaunts, the whole point of the Gaunts was exactly this, in case there's some Hornets, in case there's some air that needs to be taken care of. And more Gaunts pumped out, and I think that may have been in response to seeing the air. I'm not sure if he saw it earlier or not. Let's see. We're still not switching to Spriggan tech, it doesn't look like, so that maybe it's drop tech, but I don't know why there's two Spires, so that's what makes me think that we're going to see Spriggans. And of course, Spriggans would augment this army that is largely ground-based right now with some anti-air and some, you know, air units that themselves can't be hit without anti-air. Another vault going down. We get, there's some Reaper's Rush, it looks like, yeah. We don't even have a Hellforge either, so maybe there's just been more resources devoted to unit production here. Because this army is, like, some of these units, especially those early mags, were fairly expensive in terms of resources. Since then, it's not been that bad, although pumping out a bunch of ranks of gaunts can be fairly expensive too. Did we just see a few more Hexen added? Yeah, and remember the first Hexen was killed, so those are definitely deliberate Hexens. And look at this, a little bit of skull spam. I think that's also a great move if you are using the Hexen. And I imagine that means we've had a depth training, possibly. I'll keep it on that if I can. Although we don't see mines yet, so maybe that'll come after the Reaper's Rush. There we go, drops. So maybe it was drop tech all along. And so these drops are heading out. Keep our eye on them. Well, the army of Corsair is a little bit out of position. Now, in a way, Dutchy's kind of allowed Corsair to rebuild up. He was almost dead there at the beginning from that initial push. And it was only this one flat cannon that kind of kept him alive. And it's been, you know, almost 10 minutes maybe since then. 8 minutes, surely. Of rebuilding, but in that time Dutchy has built up this drop and he is about to pop right down in the back, and this army is actually looking pretty good, but it's out of position at the moment. So we're gonna get a drop down here. Is it only gaunts? It looks like it is mostly gaunts here, so it's a double gaunt drop and going straight for the command post, but this is a central command, which means tech is going to go down if this goes down as well. The flat cannon is in range of a few of those gaunts, and they're going to go down. But so does the central command, and now it's just a lot of fiends. And wow, I like this, going for the flat cannon while the bobs are in retreat. And now all this tech is going to go down. Very slowly are the Corsair's units coming back, but this is turned into a doom drop. Sentinel pops out, unfortunately, immediately sacrificed. So many units going down here. The Gaunts trying to get back to their dropships, and they do. There is a Hornet here that wants to be annoying, but these Harbingers are fairly tanky. Something you don't immediately think of when you think of dropships. These ones happen to be quite tanky. And a single Fiend still here working away on, what's this, the Machine Lab. And now we've got Shadow Flyers. That's going to try and defend the dropships from the Hornets. And the whole army is now moving out. And I think that's because after that Doom drop, Corsair has but one option. And that is to end it on the other side of the map. Unfortunately, his supply is considerably less. And oh, the Shadow Flyers think, hey, are there Hornets here I can take out? But there's nothing. There's nothing. It's just a ground force. There come the Hornets. I like this little scout skull to see what's going on there without having to necessarily engage. The Shadow Flyers once again being left back, but don't let them all die. It looks like they almost all got taken out. But here we have, I don't like the Gaunts in the front there, but look at those Hellborn with the Molten Touch. That's what you like to see. A nice Nightfall, zoning those units. And now we're seeing the Mags out in the front. That's what we need. All they need to do now is activate their Trample, and they can zone those units all the way back. Looks like they're just trying to stay in the front there and tank. One thing that the back and forth is helping, since we're on Shroud here, that means every time you disengage, your white health can regen a little bit. And since we're on tier 3, that means we're getting 6% white health every tick. That's very fast to get remax on your white health. Look at those Molten Touch again. Really nice. Of course, the Nano Swarms and the healing from the Medtechs are helping to counter that damage over time from the Hellborn. There are 2 Atlas here now. And ooh, we're getting a really nice shot. Oh, some really dead splattered Gaunts there. And yeah, here are 2 more Hellborn. This choke seems to be working in the favor of Corsair. I think if I was Dutchy, I might want to take out some of those trees. And getting some pretty good Hellborns with a little bit of a concave from them. But you really wanted some really nice shots in the middle. Yeah, like that. In the middle of all those exos. Get them all on fire. Here we go. The whole concave moving forward into the tanks, but seeing those tank blasts and wanting to pull back. Third tank has arrived. Okay, so Corsair, yeah, had to kind of win here, but is now stuck in a bit of a slow push. That means he has been able to build another base behind, so he's not fully all in again. And maybe with these tanks might be able to keep the units here for a while, but some nice Hellborn hits, a nice lash. 2 tanks getting lashed in. Oh, I spoke too soon. Those tanks are go down pretty quickly. Hellborn again, still trying to get some nice shots on these Exo. Oh, another huge shot on the Exos. And there's only 1 tank there. Now some of the trees going down from the splash. And Corsair, GG's, out of the game.